Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal Jordan the Lion coming to you from Detroit, Michigan. Actually, Dearborn, Michigan. We are at one of the greatest museums in the country, the Henry Ford. Daze with Jordan the Lion and you all begins right now. One of my favorite things that the Ford does is they have moldoramas all over the place, and as soon as you walk in you can get Henry Ford himself right here in this one, or you can get a Ford truck. The museum itself used to be the old Ford building and factory, so it's a very, very cool architecture inside. I've never actually been in a museum and seen anybody dusting any of the cars or anything before. It's a historic car, by the way. That is a presidential limo. Look at the big bubble top and everything. How cool is that? And with that glass right there. This was called the bubble top. This was Dwight D. Eisenhower's convertible. He used it from 1950 to 1967. It was a new era, and the old fleet of presidential cars was looking decidedly out of date. President Truman first rode this flashy convertible after it was delivered to the White House along with 9 closed limousines in 1950. So, Truman's and Eisenhower. Beautiful. I love that they really try and highlight stuff so that you can see all the way around it when possible. You see a little bit of cracking on the leather. Now, one of the most interesting pieces among all the interesting pieces they have here is this was the day that Reagan was shot, and they have this very car here. That's crazy. John Hinckley, out of jail now, and a musician, does concerts, like a folk music kind of deal. Look at that. That's the Kennedy car, and we'll get to the Reagan car up here, but you can't just pass the Kennedy car. Of course, the president was sitting back here, and this is always the big bone of contention coming here. People go, this doesn't look like the same car. That car was a convertible that day. It was blue. This is not blue, it's black. It has a hard top. After the assassination, the car was completely taken apart for investigation and then painted black, put a hard top on, and continued to be used. So that's why it looks so different, but lots and lots of documentation proving that this was the car. So this would have also been where Jackie was climbing out the back. 1961 Lincoln, and it says they used it until 77. And there's right there talking about how this was the car in Dallas that day. The photo of he and Jackie in the car. So of course Jacqueline would have been on this side, and there's a Secret Service kind of floor plate that they could step up on. So she would have been here, and he would have been sitting on the far side, of course. So it's getting interesting because now they're releasing all the documents, and everybody is convinced it's not Oswald now. So this is one of the highlight pieces that people come here for. I know I certainly do. I loved seeing this car. Such a huge moment in history. He would have been sitting right there. Gosh. Look at this photo. So here's the Reagan limo that we saw in that photo. I'm not sure why they have that photo all the way down the hall, but avoided an assassination attempt that day. And like I said, that was when John Hinckley was trying to impress Jodie Foster and shot the president coming out to his car. And there's Ronald and Nancy riding in it and popping out of that very sunroof right there. And look, Moldorama! I told you they had them peppered all over the place. This one is the Kennedy car. So I'm gonna get a couple of these on my way out. I just don't want to carry them through the museum. $5. So here we have what's called the Sunshine Special. This was Franklin Delano Roosevelt's car, limousine, 1939 Lincoln, and it says it was the first car expressly built for a president. Very cool car. They have one other, I can't recall, they have it covered up right now, part of their presidential collection. I believe it's a carriage, but it's not for view right now. But it's not bad. For presidential limos, as soon as you start looking around. And two more Moldoramas over here. Over here you have 1933 Willys Gasser. That's kind of cool. And then this one is the steam locomotive we're going to see. The 1860 steam locomotive. And they have a diagram for where you can find all of them. So it looks like they have 10 that can be collected while you're here. Bring $50. Oh, it actually says it's Teddy Roosevelt's. I think I want to go into the traveling through time section now. This is always fun. Kind of shows the history of travel. Some of the different ways people would travel. Inventions that came about. Like child safety. But they have so much cool stuff here. I mean, check this out. Well, first off, there's a giant Texaco filling station right there that you can go inside of. This is from 1940. They got a car working up there, getting worked on. And it's all kind of an interactive experience. And then they've got these old Texaco Fire Chief gasoline pumps to go along with the Texaco truck behind it. An electric coupe, 1997 electric coupe, General Motors EVI. And that's also an electric vehicle. And then over here, this is actually a hybrid. Yeah, you're like, what? No. Yeah, 1916, they actually had hybrids back then. This is a hybrid before hybrids were cool. And they had electric vehicles long before 97 because this was an electric vehicle. An electric car. An 1896 Riker. Fascinating, huh? The inventions that have been buried. Now look at these. Beautiful. This is talking about diesel and steam cars. A steam touring car, 1907 white Model G. Wow, that's awesome. And then look at that. 1963 Chrysler gas turbine sedan. And this is a 1904 Packard Model L touring car. We have a 1918 Overland. Big and spacious. Another travel family car for taking extended road trips. This was a Plymouth Suburban with the big back to haul luggage, haul the family, and then the good old minivan. My parents had one just like it. I feel like everybody's parents in the 90s had a Chrysler minivan in the town I grew up in. Fresh with meters. And of course, public transportation. They're showing a 1981 Checker Marathon taxi cab, but they have a very, very famous piece of public transportation in this museum. They have the bus that Rosa Parks was arrested on. Now over here is one of my favorite sections in the museum. They have kind of a Holiday Inn exhibit where they have some travelers' cars over here on display. And kind of the life of a family traveling for a summer, doing a road trip, showing the cars people would have taken. But then over here, you see this white wall over here? That is, they created a Holiday Inn room over there. If you were to pull off and rest your head for the night, this is what you could have expected to stay in. And they have some of the walls and the doors open and everything so we can see inside. Very standard. But they're thinking of the experience. I love it. So we can actually see the bathroom and all that stuff. Full view of the inside. And then this is also a depiction of a motor inn or a motor lodge. People would have stayed in before getting campers and other types of places to stay. Kind of a little small efficiency type room. Probably a shared bathroom, I would guess. Because if you didn't want to stay there, you could get a VW bus and do this. Or Airstream. Or auto camping. Just strap that onto your truck and kind of feels like you're in MASH, doesn't it? Here's a 1956 Thunderbird, and it's depicting toll booths and toll roads being part of the experience, opening up the road. Look at that. Imagine traveling around in a Model T. And then there's a Packard. 1903 Packard Model F. It says it's called the Old Pacific, the second car to cross the U.S. Oh, wow. So those are road miles that we're looking at. All that dirt and everything. Wow. Hey, somebody had to do it. They did it for the second time. That's awesome. Spare tires back here. I don't remember seeing this before. I guess they were San Francisco or bust. All right, let's go check out the trains and steam locomotives and cabooses and everything. Here's their famous 1940 Allegheny locomotive. And they do have it so that you can walk through a little bit of it. Big giant steam locomotive. thing is huge. We'll go walk through it, why not? All right, let's see what we got up here.
Pretty special. Oh, see how they have that fence around it?
Yeah, it's Slinky Dog.
Slinky Dog?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys.
There you go. Let's take a look at this. It's an 1881 DeWitt Clinton. And it's just a big connected string of coaches. Think about traveling across the country that way. We've got 3 of them here. And then this is the rocket. Looks like you would operate it with the hand controls right up here. And this is the train they call the President, which has a really cool history. So this was a train that they actually used to bring the President to the opening of this museum. The train was originally the Sam Hill, which you can see the name right there. But it brought the President to the opening of the museum, and then they literally just brought it right in, and it's been on display ever since. And look at this back. This is actually a refrigerator car, early refrigerator car. I don't remember seeing this last time I was here. That's kind of interesting. But yeah, look at this. Over here we have a Banger and Aero stock coach that you can get up there and you can look in the windows, but you cannot go inside and tour it. So I'll show you inside the windows. I love trains. I love the idea of trains, but I don't know if I have the patience for the speed of a train. Sometimes it takes quite a while to get where you're going. Pretty dark in there. And this giant thing is exactly what you would think. Looks like what they put on the front of trucks to plow snow. This is the Canadian plow train. Would go through New England and Canada, plowing the path. Now, I may have seen this before, but I don't remember seeing it before. This is Amelia Earhart's car. 1937 Cord 812 convertible. Soft top there. That is a pretty cool vehicle. That is interesting to see. Oh, those are cool. Look at these. I don't even know what year these are from. They don't have a plaque or anything, but these old rail cars. God, that really takes you back in time. Must be local, because this one says Woodland, and I did see Woodland as I was driving into Detroit. And look at that. Look at the carriage. Wow. And then if you're wondering what the noise is, this giant train set. Humongous Lionel train set. I love it. Thomas the Tank right there. Look at this. They even have a camera on one of the trains so you can see exactly what the train is seeing right now. It sees me filming it. It's what it sees. There are the M&Ms. Now I thought back in this section, they have one of my favorite vehicles ever in any museum. So get excited. But I'll show you everything back here. This is just talking about the unique technology. This was a 1937 Cord 812. Much like Amelia Earhart's, just a different year. And then that's a Continental Mark II. And they have this on display because it says William Clay Ford revives a tradition of excellence. Here's a Lincoln Zephyr. There's a hand-controlled coach. And this one's on display because they say at the time most of the cars were kind of squarish, horse carriage looking coaches. But this one was Charles Duryea, who went out of his way to make it look curvaceous and kind of Victorian. They have this 1927 LaSalle Roadster on display because they were talking about how they started introducing new colors. And the slogan was, you can have it in any color, and black too, because all the cars leading up to that had been dark colored black cars. Now with this, you were able to get blue, green, yellow, and red, as well as black. This is a 1914 Detroit Electric Model 47 Brougham. Not a Ford, and it's Henry Ford's wife's car. So it's kind of funny that she didn't even drive a Ford. Clara Ford drove this Detroit Electric, and years before World War I, many women chose electric cars because they started instantly without hand cranking and had no difficult to shift transmission. The superintendent of the Detroit Electric Factory employed his daughter Lillian Reynolds to sell to women, including Clara Ford, who drove this car into the 1930s. So she drove it a long time. Long time. It's actually a really beautiful car. Edsel alert. 1958 Edsel. Says the public didn't know what to think of the Edsel styling. It was big, over 18 feet long, and colorful, with 4 headlights and lights of chrome. But the grille, they said that it looked like it was a 1930s car, and it was a 1958, so people didn't know really what to make of this style. It was a little too mixing of generations before. This is one of my favorite vehicles here. This is a Bluebird number 1, just like we rode to school growing up. Well, not like this one, but the Bluebirds. It's a school bus, and it's number 269 out of Georgia, and its historical significance is that they believe it's the oldest surviving school bus. And speaking of buses, it looks like something that could be at Disneyland, but it's called the Rapid Bus, the 1906 Rapid Bus. Looks like it was a form of early public transportation because it's got 4 rows of seating. Interesting. I kind of like it. Now we're getting to one of my favorites in the collection here. And this is it. Looks like just a regular old Winnebago, but it is not. That is a famous Winnebago with an Illinois plate. And that is the very Winnebago that we would see on the intro to On the Road with Charles Kuralt. We would see this Winnebago going up and down the roads to meet interesting people and see what crazy things they were doing in the world. I love it. That to me is just, that is a highlight. Absolute freaking highlight. To be able to see into something so historical, all the places and crazy awesome people, so fun. It says it was a novel idea when Charles Kuralt's boss said yes. Neither imagined that On the Road would last 27 years. This is the last of his motorhomes that carried the 3-man TV crew on America's back roads. where they took time to meet people, listen to yarns, and feel the seasons change. Show featured Kuralt's superbly crafted stories about ordinary people who are often quite extraordinary. YouTube has an amazing collection of all the on-the-road videos, if you have never got to see any. Pretty amazing people. And what a crazy life it turned out he had. I've never talked about it in any of the vlogs, not even when I went to his grave, but when he died, they found out he had a whole nother family that his family didn't even know about. So, yeah, that's kind of crazy. Man, historical vehicle, I love it. This is one of the vehicles they need a motorama of. How do you get a train in the museum? Through those doors. Check out the Jerry Unser Motor Company car. Owner Bobby Unser. That's awesome. That is awesome. Racing Legends. Pickup truck hauler. And then this, they kind of have it buried back here. But this is kind of interesting as well. It's not just nothing. It's a stagecoach travel trailer from 1935, and it was promoted by Charles Lindbergh. And it was said that Henry Ford gave this trailer to Charles Lindbergh in 1942. Lindbergh was a famous American hero for making the first solo nonstop flight across the Atlantic. Charles and his wife Anne used it as a home on the road and as a spare room and study. Anne wrote The Steep Ascent here, and Charles wrote portions of his Pulitzer Prize winning book, The Spirit of St. Louis, in there. Wow. So they don't make it available to go inside or see anything of. You can really just see the door, but you can see a photo of the inside on here. Over here they have a few historical race cars, stock cars, drag racers, and this was a 2011 Ford Fusion, and it was Trevor Bain's Daytona, youngest winner at Daytona, and it's in as raced in race condition. As you can see, all the confetti dried to the hood and the windshield and everything. It's a pretty cool historical piece. And then look at this giant drag racer. It says that it could race the quarter mile in less than 5 seconds. Wow. This is the car that Rick Mears won the Indianapolis 500 in 1988. And this is the famous 1933 Willys Gasser that we saw the Moldorama available for. This is when machinist George Montgomery started racing in 1953. All drag racers were amateurs with a real job. This car helped change all that. Montgomery bought an old Willys in 1958 and built a dragster so successful that promoters started paying him to run at drag strips nationwide in 1966. He got a new real job as one of the first full-time professional drag racers. Very cool. I love historical pieces like that. I think we're going to wrap up today's video in here with one of my favorite displays, the barnstorming stuff. You can see where barnstorming pilots were a big thing, doing the trick maneuvers, entertaining audiences. So this, you can take the fun photo over here, which is kind of fun, but they actually have a display where you can see some of it going on. This is the flying schoolgirl. See, upside down. Look at that, hanging it by a harness. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. And then just the spectators over here watching on. And we'll go over here and check out this wing walker exhibit also. But I always just love this. I think this is such a cool thing because it's such a crazy time in our history that this was like entertainment.
One right after the other in a dazzling display of aerial prowess. We have truly come to conquer the skies. Of course, these are the best pilots. The best of the best, we like to say. These tricks can only be done by trained
All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed today. This was a blast for me, and I'm gonna make another video that you'll get to see following this one. But I hope you enjoyed seeing the Kennedy limousine, the Reagan limousine, Charles Kuralt's on the road car, Amelia Earhart's car, the steam locomotive. I mean, this place is amazing. Definitely worth your time if you can make it to Detroit, Michigan. Have a great night and goodbye.